They are our high-powered panel for our next kaupapa, aligning economic strategy to whānau outcomes. E te rangatira Robin, kai a koe te wā.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kine ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hiaki ana te ata kura, he chill, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei mauri ora. Let the winds from the south, from the west subside. Let the winds from the south subside, the west and the south. So a gentle breeze can pervade the shore, and a gentle breeze can be felt at sea, giving rise to a red-tipped dawn, a touch of freshness, a wisp of snow, and a hint of frost. Let life be widespread. What a wonderful saying. Full of aspiration, full of hope, and that's what whānau ora is. Kia ora tātou. Kia kaha te reo Māori. Kia ora te kaupapa o tēnei hui. Kia ora whānau ora. Eke pānuku. E hoa mai rauranga tira mā tēnā rā koutou katoa. Tātou mā tēnā koutou. Titiro ki tēnei whānau pūrotu. Me ki he tāne pūrotu, he wahine pūrotu. Saying from Kahungunu, beautiful men, handsome men and beautiful women make up our panel today. Look, we often hear about the growing Māori economy. Very few of us sitting in here wouldn't have heard those words over the last decade. The diverse form it is taking, its potential to impact for the better on New Zealand economy now and into the future. Many of us appreciate, though, that for Māori, that's not represented in our big corporates. That's represented in the most important facet of Māori structure, and that's the whānau. So how do our whānau become economically resilient? E ki ana te kōrero mā te huruhuru te manu ka rere. A bird can fly because it has feathers.
Good idea, right?
We associate that whakatauki with the importance of whānau, of people having resources in order to complete the tasks before them. So what about economic strategies that are being employed to underpin whānau outcomes? We have an opportunity here to share what is happening in our communities and to discuss how best we might connect economic strategy to real and measurable whānau outcomes that underpin enduring whānau well-being. While we're at it, we might have a chance to hear firsthand how whānau well-being might be a beacon of hope for the future, given that in 2019 we're promised a well-being budget. I hope it's a bit more well-being than this year's budget. And given the need for Māori, for us, and we've already had those signals, to show very clearly what our expectations might be for this well-being budget, let's start some discussion now. For this eminent panel, therefore, we have 3 points of discussion. Firstly, what is happening at a local and regional level to connect whānau ora with economic outcomes? Secondly, what central government initiatives are lending their support to this outcome? And thirdly, how should we best position ourselves to optimise the benefit for our whānau from the 2019 wellbeing budget, so it becomes intergenerational and not focused on short-term expediency. Our panellists will each be invited to speak for up to 8 minutes at the most. Stacey will be keeping a close eye on the time, because if you go over 8 minutes, my key performance indicator is affected.
Then we discussed, like, it was 2 minutes and it was...
I will use my best endeavours to ensure timeliness. If I fail, I'll have to look for someone to blame. The order of speakers is as follows. Now, for all of our speakers, if you go to your book, you can find their bios. I'm not going to read out their bios. So the order of speakers will be Mate Roa, Ma, George Reedy, Debbie Ngarewa Peka, Michelle Hippolyte, and here I just want you to note that Michelle is not Nanaya. Nanaya has sent her apology. And we're very fortunate to have Michelle here amongst us to slot in at very short notice this slot. So kia ora, Michelle. And the last speaker is Willie Jackson. And he's last for a reason. Because he was the last one up here. But Willie is obviously very important to us as Minister of Employment and Associate Minister of Māori Development, and hopefully he'll be able to just give us an idea of how things are tracking and where we're going with this budget and some of the great things that are happening and maybe some of the aspirations that politicians have in relation to their support of whānau ora. Time permitting, we will take some questions. If you want to use your app, use your app. And we'll sort the questions out, and hopefully they might come up on the screen. If they're not, we'll allow people from the floor to ask questions. Just make sure that the questions are not longer than the speeches that we're going to give these people an opportunity to make. So, Michelle, I better read a little bit out about Michelle because, as I said, she's not in the book, but this is her bio. Chief Executive of Te Puni Kōkiri for almost 6 years, the first wahine Māori to lead Te Puni Kōkiri since it was set up 26 years ago. Previously, Michelle was the Kaihau-tū of Te Papa Tongarewa and also Acting Chief Executive. Throughout her career, Michelle has provided ministerial advice on issues pertinent to Māori development, including Māori economic development, treaty settlements, seabed and foreshore, social policy, te reo Māori, fisheries, broadcasting, and the list goes on and on and on. Professional highlights for Michelle include providing leadership in government on the establishment of Māori television and Te Ture mo te reo Māori. So Michelle hails from Waikato and has got good East Coast connections through Rongo Whakaata and Te Aitanga Mahaki. Not quite Kahungunu, but just about there. So if we can start then with Mate Roa. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Tēnā tātou, nā mihi atu ki a koe e Robin, mō tō kōrero, nā mihi atu ki a koe e nā rangatira mā, nā mihi atu ki a koutou, tēnā tātou, nā mihi. So I guess at 5 minutes, so I better get on with the reason for being here. So firstly, just to acknowledge obviously all of the expertise in the room and the contribution that everybody makes to the opportunity to align economic development to whānau ora. It's intrinsic in whānau ora because it helps us take forward our aspirations for whānau that we are working alongside of, that we are supporting. Secondly, I would say that obviously economic development also starts with whānau. It starts with their aspirations. And as Meripeka said this morning, one of the biggest moimoia or aspiration that whānau talk about is a better standard of living. If a better standard of living is what whānau are wanting, then what are the mechanisms for us to allow the redistribution of wealth? How do we start to tackle those larger issues, which also Richard talked about in his speech, of being able to develop some of those mechanisms? How do we be risque? How do we take those steps where we can try new things, where we help to develop not only individual opportunities, but we move towards the opportunity for collective wealth? How do we do that in a way that takes whānau, hapu and iwi along the journey? Why would we wait for governments to provide us with the mechanisms for creating wealth? Why would we do that? History has shown us that that is not the step that we should be taking. They have a responsibility, and I'm sure that Willie will talk about that, no doubt. However, the destiny is within our own hands, and we should look to the opportunities that we have when we talk about the Māori economy. How can we take some of that contribution out of the Māori economy, put it through a mechanism like whānau ora, and then start to increase things like whānau direct, the opportunity for whānau to develop social enterprise, and therefore to be able to create opportunity for whānau to thrive and flourish. We don't stand alone. I would just like to make that comment, given that the Minister this morning talked about we can't do things when we stand alone. We don't stand alone. We stand very united, and we've proven now over many years that as whānau, the opportunity to flourish is palpable. It's within our reach to take the next step. What are the next steps in our transformation? How do we now take what the government is offering, build on that, and also look at the opportunity for the policy settings to change? If there is something that government can do, and there is a lot of research that has been done now that is well documented, that talks about and describes the policy settings that are required to help with the redistribution of wealth. We should encourage those opportunities to be taken up. We should look at the opportunity to consolidate debt for whānau, because consolidating debt allows for the continuation of thriving and wealth creation. It's a really odd thing, right? That if you receive an income via a benefit and you have debt to the Ministry of Social Development or other government agencies, that the dollar you are given, you then give back to pay that debt. That is a trap for our whānau. So how can we consolidate some of the debt, then take the steps to create those thriving mechanisms that allow us to redistribute the wealth? I would like to challenge our iwi leaders to take a stronger look at the opportunities that exist for us to take the next transformative step in our development as a people. Why would you not invest in all of us? Why would you not take the opportunity to redistribute that wealth which is part of our Māori economy? Nō reira, nā mihi atu ki a koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Kia kātou, kia kātou. Well done, Mateo. Redistribution of wealth.
Yeah,
Ai, kia ora.
key point.
Tēnei te mihi o te morning. Kia ora. So this part of the presentation is the interactive part. So I have a question for everybody in the room. How many of you, and I'm going to get you to stand up because you've all been sitting down for the last half hour or so. How many of you receive a regular income? So, etu, if you do.
Should we participate in this? Yes. Oh, are we?
Oh my God.
Mine's quite irregular,
Board fee,
but when it happens, it's good.
anything like that. So, okay. And how many of you have a doctor?
Have a what?
Hand up.
A doctor.
Do you have a doctor? Yeah?
Yeah.
How many of you have an accountant? 2 hands up. Oh, not so many hands. Come on, guys. I'm an accountant. I need a job.
Tell a lie.
Now we're going to go for the leg now. How many have been to university? 1 leg up in the air. Kia ora. E noho. The point of the exercise is that everybody in this room, however much we might like to try and change the world, We've actually changed that already by travelling our own journey to arrive where we have today. So, go like this, pat yourself on the back, well done. Okay, but the question is, what made this room different to any other group of Māori who had perhaps the same opportunities? And we can look at each other and go, we've come from some very diverse places, diverse backgrounds, but we've arrived here and we're trying to make a difference in this world. So what's so different about our journey that has made us arrive here without taking the rest of the whānau with us? I don't know what the answer to that is, but quite often a lot of it is to do with how we're brought up. And where I was going with the question was, so out of all those people who stood up, hand on head, doctor, accountant, how many of you have got a social worker looking after your family in this room? No one, no. I got one down there, one who's willing to stick her hand up. So you can see that there's a lot of difference between where all the outcomes are focused at the moment. Where the difficulty lies is that most of our whānau are struggling with their life. So I wrote down here a little, not a story, but an example of where things can go wrong. So imagine you're a single mum, you've got 2 kids, one under 2, one under 4, and you're renting, you've got an old car, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're trying to decide, one of the babies is sick, do I go to the hospital? And you haven't got a warrant, you haven't got a license, all of those other things. What do? Most of us would go, well, actually, we'll ring a taxi or something and come and get, but you haven't got any money either. So you hop in your car, drive down to A&E, go in, and on the way there, because you're driving a little bit erratically, someone pulls you up and says, can I see your license? So a little short trip to go see the doctor turns into a rather expensive, you don't have a license, you don't have a warrant of fitness, and you still haven't got to the hospital yet. So in our little corner of the world, we decided we would take whānau water and focus on some of those areas where our mums are getting into those difficult areas with licenses. It's a small lever in the whole turning the tide for them. It's worked out really well in a lot of cases. A lot of our, and we do focus on rangatahi. A lot of our rangatahi now have their learner licence. They shouldn't be taking anyone with them other than a driver, but it's the start for them. And for many of them, it's one of the first things that they've ever achieved in their life on their own. They have to do it on their own. So little things like that is on that real basic level, but it is a turning point for many of them.
Yes.
Once they get a licence, we're now rolling into tracks and rollers. So we've had a group of girls go through recently who are now going on to doing the bulldozers and things like that. We've got a lot of work up and down. Sorry, if you haven't figured it out, I'm from the Hawke's Bay. I'm working in Kahungunu. I've also got a toenail's worth of whakapapa to Kahungunu as well. But so down our way, drivers, those sorts of things are really key to what's going on. I'm not. That's our basic level. I just wanted one other point to make about the local level of influence over where we can improve outcomes for whānau. We're right. We can't do it on our own. So why have we taken the challenge in our region? So as part of Whānau Water, we've picked up the collective impact thing and created a model that includes our iwi, also includes some of the post-settlement groups as a collective, and we're not a formal entity, we're just a collective. You can come and go as you wish, and we use that influence with our regional economic development strategy. So Hawke's Bay is probably one of the few places that has the Māori component threaded through it, and that one in it is about every whānau benefiting from the improvement in the economic growth of the region. So we count ourselves as fortunate as being able to participate in that and to influence that level. So at a regional level, there's our local government relationships that we've managed to lever. And Yeah, they can see that in our area there's a lot of settlements hitting the table. And, he's going to throw me off in a second. The settlements have come along and there's some money for investment in the region, so you can see that many others want the groups to partake in that. So, on that note,
Ka pai, John.
I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you guys got a little bit of a stretch out of that. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia kaha.
Well, thanks, George. You left me about 1 minute. Tēnā koutou. It's a privilege to be here amongst all our co-investors. I read on the screen this morning, I think it was just short of 200% return on investment, social return on investment. So congratulations, Waipareira. Congratulations, John, the team, Te Pou Matakana. And to all of you here today who I understand from an investment perspective connected with 12,500 whānau, 1,000 up from that time, I think 1,000 up from the year before. So it's quite humbling to sort of think the whānau water space is historically seen as not being an economic focused space. And I guess that sort of talks about it from a multiplier effect. If you were to look at 12,500 on an average, 20 people each, unless you're from Pāti and we know everybody, then the economic flow-off that's been achieved within this movement is hugely epic. And it's such a privilege to be amongst other co-epic Māori investors. And I think one of the things that I'd like to do is encourage that we stop seeing ourselves as not being investors in the future. Because for Māori, investment, in my view, is not about the economic space or economic development space being about increasing GDP. It's not about seeing us as whānau as being purely productive. It's not about seeing us as whānau as being only consumers. And I'd like to give an example. So I'm really privileged, not being from, like everyone else, from Kahungunu. I'm from Pātia. And so every now and then we see somebody from Te Tahiwaurua on the list, we're like, woo! But on I guess the serious side, it's quite gratifying to hear the Poie song, and I'd like to share a kōrero with you.
Yeah, kia ora.
Kia ora. So one of the things in the small unassuming part of Taranaki is that in 1982 the most negative impact happened to our whānau. The freezing works were closing. Generations of our whānau, my koro was born in 1901, had worked there, and they'd not known anything like this devastation since the Mururopatu. So for us it was absolutely devastating. I was in my last year at boarding school and got pulled out and got taken to Pātia, which actually really suited me because by then I was into boys and there were none at a girls' college. So just had to put that in. But I guess one of the things I want to talk about in that extreme adversity came out Poie. And Poie is a song that has lasted in the charts for 3 decades. So our whānau were under the most extreme duress some of them had ever known, other than the First and Second World War, other than their forefathers with the Mururopatu. And out of this extreme adversity came not only their cultural saviour, their social saviour, their ability to keep staying together when some of them had gone off to other freezing works, when some of them had left Pātia, it drew them back together, but also to this day the royalties and the economic opportunities that come from this little song has created some huge economic strategies and opportunities for this whānau. So it's really important for us to flip up the discussion on its head of where economic development belongs. And I accepted the role in the Māori Economic Development Advisory Board for that sole purpose, because it's not often we accept government advisory roles. One, because there's so much to do at home. 2, because you worry about the impact that may have an interpretation of what it is that you share. And 3, I guess the reality is sometimes it gets lost in interpretation. But I contributed to that strategy because it was the first time we had a Māori-empowered, whānau-driven economic development strategy. And it is so integral to us today to continue to own that no matter how the governments that come in and out and in, whatever parties they're in, is that we own that space. And I guess probably one of the things I want to talk about at a real macro level is that we can see that the best Western practices, and thank you, Ngā mihi, to the speaker before us, aren't working. They're not working across the world. We see it in Brexit. The only country in the world that's actually not flat in the international markets is America. And the reason that America's not flat in the global market, is because they are the only ones that have put out some ridiculous strategies and policies. So they've lowered the tax at the cost of the future generation. So the next generation is going to wear that so horrifically. The adversity that is going to incur, predominantly to our Indigenous peoples over there, is going to be devastating. So one of the things that I think is really important in whānau ora and the economic development space is to acknowledge, first and foremost, that the best Western practices don't work. They've failed us economically. And like Pātea, we should create those perfect storms of courage, a huge lot of talent, and a shit lot of cheek. Sorry. And I think what I would like to sort of say on that note is that in amongst all this toing and froing of policies, and you know it at the grassroots level, you know it, comes all these ideas. And what you see is just simplicity of an idea. And when we see the models of success in whānau, owning the economic space, and economic to me again means everything. It means the environment, so obviously there's no seabed mining. It means, our culture. It means everything. It's not about cash. Because, we run tangi economically and sustainably. It's not about cash. It's about all the other intel that must be gathered in that journey. And we've almost lost it. And I want to give an analogy which is probably not nice, and you can catch me at lunch if I've got, if I offend, but I don't mean to. When you get chooks or chickens that haven't been raised free range, and you take them home in a box, they sit there like this for ages. It doesn't matter if the moko is crying and calling him, tamatu, they sit there for days, stunned, slightly paralysed, and I would say a certain degree of amnesia, of forgetting what their natural state was. And that's all we are. We are no different to every other Pātea Māori club in the world. We are no different to that as whānau. And one of the things I want to touch on before I get the nod to get off is that one of the things we need to do is invigorate our whānau economic development thinking and take on the intel. Be okay about making risks. Be okay about taking risks. But most importantly, and this is something that we've been teaching with our rangatahi, is be okay about failure. Because out of that comes our resilience. And awarangi ngā mihi ke a koe, I know you must have written that speech last night or this morning because you're more busier than me. But one of the things I want to talk about before I go is at a micro level, I don't know if anyone knows, but I'm a loud and proud yopoi. So I think you know what a yopoi is, eh? So I'm a youth positive influencer. I'm absolute champion for youth. Everything we do in our iwi is youth focused. Did you know what that meant?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay,
Time
and
up.
one of the things, so one of the things in the last minute that we do is we've taken a real focus on our rangatahi, because they are where our focus should be economically. We see that they were failing in things that the schools aren't delivering, so we brought the world to them. We've taken our kids to Silicon Valley, we've taken them to Stanford. We now run a innovation and technology precinct for them. They're called innovation stations. And one of the things that they do is I've created our apps. They've won science fairs, get this, from Taranaki in alternative energy. And the reason we did that as whānau, and the reason we got our iwi, and the reason that anyone who's our friend, we shamelessly ask and tono to tautoko our kaupapa, is because in the technology space, there is twice the medium income, twice the medium income that they can get in any other sector. There is low people applying for it, so there's huge opportunities for them. So before I go, what I would like to implore is that Willie and his party look at increasing the youth salary rates or youth hourly rate from $13 to $16 as they promised, and that we as whānau have no shame and we take a little bit of and create perfect storms of courage, talent and a lot of cheek. Kia ora rā.
Kia ora.
Thank you. How much over?
About 5.
Oh, cool.
You're down to 1 minute now.
That's right, Willie's at the end. He's going to miss out.
I'll give it a miss anyway.
Okay, kia ora tātou, I runga i te kaupapa o tēnei wiki o te reo Māori, kia kaha tātou ki te kōrero reo Māori. So I'm going to keep it short. First point is that economic development is part of whānau development. It's not an adjunct to it. One of the challenges in government is that we're organised by kaupapa. And as we try and work across kaupapa, the change that's required in mindset is huge. And I don't underestimate the work we have started as we head towards the wellbeing budget, about how we hold hands with our colleagues from other parts of government to infuse whānau development is an integral part of that, not an add-on to that. So that's the first point. You're all exemplars of that, and it's always incredible to come and learn of the amazing things that you do a kanohi, rather than just all the reports that we receive from our partners to learn more of what you're doing. So that's the first point. Number two, at the local level, Te Puni Kōkiri has put a lot of effort and time, and I'm just going to pick on two kaupapa. One that we call Kāinga Ora, a number of recipients and partners in this room. And we know that while the outcome of that might be a home for whānau to live in, the journey to get there is the whānau development journey. How can we work with families and whānau to have them understand what capital means, to have them think about businesses that may be associated with painting all the houses that are being developed in parts of Aotearoa. And so whānau development doesn't just start by focusing on, is it the house? It actually is part of the journey that people are involved in. The other initiative, Oranga Marae. I'm always an advocate that culture, identity are all part of the whānau development journey. And it's been interesting to watch how the whānau that you're interacting with, where they place, who they are, what they're about, who they belong to in their whānau development journey. I hope we don't lose that. The whānau development kaupapa is one place to exemplify that being Māori in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is the foundation of whānau development. So that's one thing. Oranga Marae is also enabling us to reconnect people with their marae. We all belong to a marae, whether they're in towns and cities or in the rohe. So we have recognised that whānau gather around kaupapa that has a lot to do with their whakapapa. And the more that we as government agency can support that, I'm up for that. So that's point number two. Point number three, in central government, the wellbeing budget, as I was saying, is real. I'm sure the Minister will talk a little bit about that. We are also focusing on how can we bring a whānau development methodology to developing Māori land. Because the whenua is a taonga tuku iho. It has a cultural relationship to our whakapapa, but it also enables some enterprises to be created and wrapped around that. Also in central government, again, many of you will have heard Minister Jones talk about the importance of the provinces, importance of the rohe in developing ambition, in identifying those who are ready to enter into a economic development pathway. It's one of the kaupapa where there is a Māori economic development outcome, so there's an expectation that the Provincial Development Fund will make a direct contribution to Māori economic development in the rohe. How it trickles down or relates to whānau is a work in progress, and I'm interested to see how the second and third year can make that more prominent. So a few things happening in central government to bring that to life. And lastly, final point, that if we are going to understand what success looks like, then we have to do and collect different information than what we have been thus far. We as government, I know, collect a lot of what I call throughput information. How many people, when did it all happen? And there is a movement within government, just like there has been a movement with whānau water to shift from throughput to impact, from transaction to transformation. And we have to find ways to capture the insight that is relevant and tells the story of your whānau. So I'm always uplifted by the work that you do, the way in which you, as partner with Te Poumatakana, to bring these real whānau experiences to life, because they are important for the colleagues that I work with who don't get it. So we have still a lot more work to do. And as you influence your whānau to participate in different data collection exercises, if they are invited to participate in Te Kupenga, it's one of our national data sets that tells a Māori story. It doesn't ask the same things as what the census does. It asks you, when's the last time you visited your marae? How much do you know about your whakapapa? All those things that are valued in whānau ora. Nō reira, kia ora tātou.
Kia ora, Michelle. Ka whai. You want one?
Kia ora tātou. Tuatahi e tikana ki te tautoko mihi ki ngā mate, ki ngā rangatira ELF, me te pāpā Willow Jean Barry, nō reire te tokonua nei, moi mai, moi mai, moi mai. Ka nui tēnā kia koutou, ko tai mai nei tēnei wā, ki te tautoko tēnei kaupapa tino ātāhua, tino whakahirehere i tēnei wā, he hōnore nui ki te tū i mua i a koutou, ngā rangatira, Mason, Tari, Whaia June, tēnei te mihi kia koutou, Miri Peka, tēnei te tino mihi kia koutou, tai mai nei tēnei wā, I whakarangatira hau I tēnei wā, tēnei te tino hōnare, tēnā koutou, tēnā no tātou katoa. Good to be here. I notice my Labour Party colleagues are not here, but my Parliamentary National Party ones are, so kia ora to them. Good to see them here, because we all have good to see them here, because we all have a vested interest in whānau, no matter what party you're in. You know, when I got into Parliament back in October, November, my old mate JT sent me a wonderful message. I don't get many lovely messages from that bloke, I tell you. It's fabulous. And then when we did the budget declarations, and the day after he found out that whānau ora wasn't getting any more money, I should show you that message. I should show you that message. Yeah, not too complimentary, my old mate, but that's life. That's the game we buy into. And I'll get to that budget very shortly. You know, through the years, John and I have constantly challenged iwi, much to the dismay, I think, of some of our own relations and people like Tariana and others. But when I hear, and I spoke about it in the House the other day when we were talking on the bill, on the Treaty Settlement Bill, I'll never resolve from it, because this type of kōrero, and I heard it briefly earlier, I'll never resolve from the view that when I keep hearing about a Māori economy that's worth $50 billion, and we still have third world housing in the north and on the east coast and in the Tainui, there's something bloody going wrong, isn't there?
I was hoping that someone would say that.
That doesn't mean that government shouldn't front up. Absolutely. Whether it's National Labour, whatever. But I do, and I'll continue that kōrero along with JT and Shane, who's been coming out on just about every single issue in the world in the last few weeks. But we'll continue with those challenges, because you can't have a rich iwi and a poor people. You just can't. This is Māngere. This is where I was brought up. This is where I live. Where I went to school, where I lived and brought up in a state house here. I seen poverty at the coalface. And so, you know, Robin's been on every economic board going, you know. He's on more boards than any Māori I know, actually. And he's part of the iwi interests and tribal interests. Absolutely. And so this is a challenge for him and for iwi. That of course the government should front up on the main kaupapa of the day, like funding for health, like funding for education. Absolutely. We as a government, whoever the government is, have that primary responsibility. But you've heard it all. It doesn't matter who's in government. There's never enough money for our people. There's never enough money for our people. So when are the well-to-do tribes going to cut a 5% of their funding back to the people? They buy rugby league clubs. They buy pubs. They buy rugby league clubs. They've bought pubs. They buy the best property. Do the people factor? Are they factored in anywhere? That's the challenge I'll always put down in terms of economic development. Doesn't always go down with my mates. Heck, Meka Whaitiri spoke after me in the house the other day and totally disagreed. Kei te pai. That's okay. That's okay, you know, and I won't be talking about my sister Meka right here today. But you know the tautoko she has too. But I think that's a challenge when we talk about economic development. That we're going to have to look at ourselves as well as challenge government. And we should be challenged now with a second budget coming up. I should explain that we made some decisions when we went into Parliament. As you all know, during the election campaign, it was a hell of an election campaign. And we campaigned on basic issues. Right, so we didn't, you know, in terms of Labour, we kept it straight. We didn't campaign on the water, we didn't campaign on the foreshore, we just campaigned on the basics: housing, health, education. That's what the campaign was about. And of course, we went toe to toe with probably Debbie Packer's team for a start, and Māori. You know, it was a hell of a campaign with the Māori Party. And as you all know, they said some terrible things about me and individuals in our party, but we took it on the chin. We took it on the chin. Debbie and her mates, and half of you all still in the Māori Party. Although I hear the numbers have been dwindling lately. But anyway, those are campaigns. Those are campaigns, and you say some terrible things about each other because everyone wants to get to the line first. Our campaign was a simple campaign, concentrating on the basics, on the people of Māngere, on the people of Otara, on the people of Papakura, on the people of Porirua, on the people of Lower Hutt. What did that mean? What did that transition into? Well, it meant it was the first budget that was much more a universal budget than a targeted budget. That's not going to make anyone happy in this room, because the reality is, and I don't mind saying it because I've said it before, a lot of the people who we represent and who get targeted funding, many of them missed out in terms of extra funding. We kept funding everyone, but there was no extra funding. But it was off the back of a campaign that said we've got to get more money into more Māori people's pockets. So as I said to some of our critics, and we got some real critics, Miri Peka was one of them, and good on Miri Peka. No problem. That's what we're in the game for. That's what we're in the game for. No problem with the criticism. Miri Peka and John and them all said, Māori have missed out, Māori have missed out. And there's no doubt some Māori missed out. But actually most Māori got something out of the last budget. Because the reality is, believe it or not, most Māori are not part of whānau ora. Most Māori don't speak Māori. And most Māori are not, sadly, part of my Manukau Urban Māori Authority or John's Waipareta Trust. So we went down a universal track to start off with so we could hit everyone. Do we want providers supported? Absolutely. Absolutely. But when you come into government, you've got to play the game a bit. You've got to play the game a bit. And there's 3 years. And this second year is a year where I'm very hopeful that we can deliver for targeted programs, particularly whānau ora and Māori health providers. Māori radio, Māori TV. This is this. Sorry? Absolutely. I've said it in Parliament. I've said it on TV. I'll say it anywhere. Because when you talk about social well-being, the emphasis in terms of the Pākehā side of things has been infrastructure, economic development, and and National did some good things in those areas too. There's no doubt about that. National and Labour both do good things in those areas in terms of investment, but you can't keep investing in terms of infrastructure and everything else. It's just like the Māori analogy. While we've still got record homelessness, while we know that whānau ora providers can get to families better than Pākehā providers any day of the week. We know this, we've seen this. I've worked it, I've delivered whānau ora. We were the biggest whānau ora providers in South Auckland. So we as a Māori caucus are committed to trying to get more targeted funding in the second budget. Well, can we guarantee it? No, but I can guarantee that we will be putting up a strong case. And you've heard the kōrero from Grant Robinson that this is going to be a social well-being budget. He's been clear on that. What does that mean? That means that we're going to be more observant of community needs, not just Māori, community needs right across the spectrum. And now I get cut off, Robin. Māori needs and community needs. I didn't even know I was doing a speech, so I had to think of Can I just finish? I just wanted to finish with a couple of things, though. So just be cognizant of that I understand the challenge, I understand the disappointment, and that we're committed to running, in the next budget, Robin, a universal and targeted funding strategy so that we can get to all our Māori groups. I just want to say at the end of this, because there was some other kōrero about literacy, I think it's smart that we teach, there was some kōrero about the basic economics. I think it's smart if we teach our kids about financial literacy. I think it's rare. My wife is a principal, and there's something she's working through with her kids. We want parents to get involved with this. But in an economic sense, I think that they need to learn about it. And we also have to, I always think about this, we need to think about whānau intergenerational wealth. When you look at a lot of Pākehā families, and what happens in Pākehā families, and the kids are looked after. When I look in my world, sadly, we've got kids who start off with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Let's get them to start with something. Let's invest, teach them about financial literacy and wealth, and let's get in behind both the government and iwi. We can all make a contribution. Kia ora no tātou katoa. Oh, sorry.
Right, we've got 7 minutes. We could have had 17, but someone spoke 10 minutes over. Look, I think a theme that came out of this panel is that we really have got our own future and our own destiny in our own hands. He kai ki aku ringa. That's a sort of a theme that's come through. However, that is not to release government from its obligations or its responsibilities. And I can always rely on Willie putting the onus on iwi. But iwi didn't create this problem. But I'm sure that iwi will be part of the solution. They must be. I think universal and targeted sounds like an economist on the one hand and on the other. But out of both of those, hopefully something will come for us next year. And I agree with Willie that we've got to be activist in this regard, if that's what he was suggesting. That's all of us, have got to be playing a far more prominent role in ensuring that government is very much aware of what well-being really means. Now, we've been talking about well-being for I don't know how long, and it's put in sort of social, economic, environmental, and cultural pou. But those are things that we're familiar with. We heard from Waipareira. We looked at their areas where they are endeavouring to make impact. Very similar to that sort of well-being paradigm. In fact, it probably is it. Anyway, I'm not too sure whether we've got questions coming through on the app. If not, here we go. Here we go. Now, these ones have come through a sort of a popularity thing as well. Other people have seen them and have been able to comment. But the first question is, redistribution of wealth to fund whānau ora a priority of the government, of the Labour government? Wow. Who here is able to speak for government? Willie, just make sure that the response is less than 30 seconds.
Is it like, what's the question?
Yeah, this one. Well, both of them actually, Willie. Redistribution of wealth. Who raised that, Mate Roa?
Oh, kia ora? Oh, okay. That's good. No, I don't agree with that. Look, what the point I'm making in terms of iwi, I'm in everyone's camp. I'm in iwi camp, the iwi camp too, is that government has a basic obligation to fund everything. All I'm saying is that there should be a small percentage allocated now, particularly with tribes who've done really well, like Ngāi Tahu and Tainui, to look after some of the social interests and social obligations. I'm talking like 5% maybe. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not interested in this. I absolutely support the government looking after people's interests and iwi investing in iwi interests, but I just think that we get too puritanical and too adamant that iwi money is iwi money, and that's that, and should not be going towards social obligations.
I think it's about
disagree.
direct. I actually think the question, Willie, is will we look at direct funding, which is exactly the argument and debate that went down in Māori broadcasting, and you used to lobby for. So it's a good partai, because if we were to collectivise and make sure that the funding that's allocated and dispersed and sometimes doesn't get the collective impact that's desired, and it was distributed directly through to the commissioning agencies at least, then we would be able to, invigorate and be able to achieve more.
So Debbie has asked a supplementary question.
Is there
As the Speaker of the House.
Well, I've got a fact, and the
okay.
fact there has been a transfer of resource from one vote agency to whānau ora. So that we've got an example that it is possible that other ministers can see that whānau ora is doing something different, that has happened. It is small,
So
but
does
it's
the
the
current
start.
government see that as a solution and therefore willing to invest more and also reallocate the funding through the Whānau Ora Commissioning Agency?
I think that's a natural.
Come on.
Right, come on, peace. I want peace to break out amongst the panellists.
Can I be clear on this? I will support any direct funding as long as you've got a responsible group.
Yep.
But I will not support direct funding groups everywhere, because I've seen money misspent and had to go in.
The commissioning agencies
There's
are a
no
good
problem. There's no
conduit.
problem with the.
Come on.
It's a general
Give 'em a go.
question. I got no
Yeah.
problem with the commissioning agencies, but the question is general, isn't it, in terms of Māori right across the spectrum?
so I
and,
think-
and what I'm saying is this commissioning agency has proven itself.
Righto.
So I
So
don't
Can I
have a
let's
just
problem.
bank
say,
that.
can I just
Let's
say,
bank that.
just so that to add to that value proposition, it's really important to remember that iwi are vested and do have stakes and money invested in collectively owned hauora providers. So who are active and very successful Tui Ora in Ngāti Runui, in whānau ora. So I think the real
Next
challenge
question,
is how do
please.
we make that viable for you?
Debs has now had 15 minutes, but makes a good point. No, Poya, no, it was a great example.
ka
Put
pai
it
whānau.
there. Next question. Any other questions? Look, I'd like to ask you all a question. Time up. Just one question. And put your hands up for this. In 2015, apparently it was stated that whānau ora services tend to concentrate on social and health services, and much less on the economic growth of whānau. Think about that in terms of your own experience, much less on economic growth of whānau. Has there been a shift in the last 2 years? Put your hands up if you think yes. Not a lot of people. And if you think no? Oh, well, in that case, everyone's sitting on the fence, so it's not too bad. Ka pai. Thank you very much. Our time is up. I hope you enjoyed that. Kia ora tātou.